So this video is on converting decimals to decimal fractions or decimal fractions to decimals. Remember that a decimal fraction is just a fraction with either 10 or 100 in the denominator. So we are going to start off with a decimal fraction, maybe like 84 hundredths, and we're going to talk about how to convert that into a decimal. So the important thing to remember is with decimal places, just like with regular place value, we might have our ones place, over here our tens place, hundreds, etc. Below our ones place, since that would be less than one whole, we have our decimals. So after our decimal point, the very first place here is our tenths place with that THS sound. And then right after it is the hundredths place with that THS on there. So we need to really make sure we know it goes decimal point, tenths, hundredths. So here we have 84 over 100. Another way to say this is 84 hundredths. So that gives us a big old clue about whenever we write this as a decimal. So 84 hundredths, I'm going to go back up to this space here. 84 hundredths I know would be a decimal point, so I know there will be two place values because there are two zeros in this number here past the decimal. So here's my decimal point, and I know I have tenths and hundredths. I have no whole numbers with this fraction. It's not a mixed number, so there's no wholes here. It's just 84 over 100. So I know my whole number would just be a 0, and then I have to end in the hundredths place. Well, that's pretty easy for this one because I have two digits, I have two spaces, so it'd be 84 hundredths. Okay, another example, scooch my paper up here. Maybe we have 7 tenths. Okay, 7 over 10, we can also read as 7 tenths. There are 0 whole numbers, so we'd put our 0 in our decimal place. Now because this is just a 10, that means I'll only have a tenths place. So I don't even have to worry about my hundredths place here. This is just my tenths place. Okay, I'm just abbreviating it like that for now. So I just have a 7, so my 7 goes there. Okay. What can be sort of tricky is if I have a hundredth, but there's only one digit up here. Maybe let's say 5 hundredths. Some of my friends would like to write that like that. But if we read this decimal, it's 5, and then the place value space is tenths. So this is 5 tenths. And we know from when we learned about decimal fractions that 5 tenths and 5 hundredths are not equivalent, because 5 tenths is actually the same thing as 50 hundredths, and 50 and 5 are not even close. So I know that is not 5 hundredths. I do the same process. I have 0 whole numbers, I have a decimal point, and I have 5 hundredths, 2 zeros, so 2 place value spots. And then I need my 5 to end in my hundredths place. So because I have nothing here, I know I have to put a 0, because 0's job is to hold place value. If I don't have that 0, it's not going to look like hundredths when I write it. It'll look like tenths again, so I need to make sure I've got it. So 5 hundredths is 0.05. Okay. Works just the same for if we have a whole number. So maybe I have a mixed number like 8 and 2 tenths. Well, this time I do have 8 wholes, so it goes before the decimal point, and then I know I have tenths, so I'm just going to have one space, so it'd look like this, and it would be read 8 and 2, and then I say the place value spot, tenths. Okay, I can also go from a decimal into a decimal fraction. I've got 2 places here, so I know it's a hundredth. So then I just put my number on top, 74. If I had this to be able to put it into a fraction, I do have a whole here. So it would be a mixed number. So I've had 6, and so I know I'll have a fraction with it. This is read like 2 decimal places, so I read this number first, 5, then I say the place value of the last digit, so hundredths. So 5 hundredths. Okay, one other thing I want to add in this part of the video is sometimes instead of giving a decimal or a fraction and going to the other, sometimes we're given a model. So hopefully this is coming up okay on the screen. But if I have a model here, I first think about it as, okay, how many total pieces do I have? So in this model here, if I were to count all those boxes, it's going to be 100. So I would count, okay, it'd be